also got to know our non-negotiables. And knowing your non-negotiables, setting those boundaries and sticking to them, which is point three, really all comes from what your why is. Why are you doing what you're doing? What brings you the most joy? And how do you implement those things in your life?
Where do we go from here? That's the question, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Olivia Cook. Ooh, how are you today?
Lion, I am phenomenal, and I'm just so happy to be here on just one question.
Thank you so much. I want to get started first off by you kind of giving a little bit of yourself to the audience so they get to know you. I told them your bio, but I think it's very important to hear from yourself who you are, where you started from, how you got to your journey, a little bit about that.
Where I started from, well, let me just let you know, I do not look like what I've been through, okay? So I am a transformational success coach, podcast host, speaker, co-owner of a Christ-driven brand, and I do also have a full-time job as the assistant manager at a fine dining restaurant. So there's a lot of stuff that I have going on, and I years ago, I would not be able to do the things that I do, help the people that I help, do the impact that I do if it wasn't for the work that I'd done on myself. And as I call it, looking in the dirty mirror and acknowledging where I was wrong in my life, the mistakes I was making, and how I had many character flaws. And that's something that I help my clients do as well. We tend to hold ourselves back so much when it comes to our progression. And I'm going to let you know something. You get to keep every single excuse that you give yourself. So start realizing what you're saying to yourself. Start looking at your circumstances that you have and start seeing where you can improve and how you can improve. That's what I help my clients do. That's what I help so many other people do. I'm also a humanitarian. So I do a lot in my community. I volunteer with the Overnight Warming Center on nights that it's 20 degrees or less here in the area that I live. I am an active member in my church and am part of like the church influencers. It's really kind of interesting that they use that. But I led the summer sack lunch program this summer, and that was helping feed children in areas where that they wouldn't otherwise have food. You know, the cost of living and inflation are going up like crazy, and just being able to help those in need really brings me so much joy. It keeps me humble. It allows me to count my blessings. So I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I'm such a great person. No, I do it because it keeps me in check. It keeps me more in reality. Um, so that's a little more about me on the personal side too. I'm also
Yeah.
a military wife.
Okay, look at that. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm retired military, and I often hear people say, thank you for your service to military members, right? I have worked to change a little bit of that saying because it's our job, it's what we're supposed to do. So I tell people in the military, thank you for your sacrifice because they sacrifice so much more that people don't understand. Being away from families, being away from your kids, potential harm if you know you're involved in a war zone or and anything like that. So they're sacrificing so much more. But it's just been a little thing I've been working towards. But I love that thing that you were saying about the humanitarian portion, giving back, because I grew up initially without means to start. And I remember free lunch. That's what we used to get. Or the summertime, we used to go to a little YMCA or something, and they give. We looked forward to that as a kid. And there's people we didn't know who were providing that. Right, they're in the back scenes, and they're doing those little things for us, and it means so much, even though that we didn't know that they were doing it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to us, Olivia and I, we have coined a new word. And Webster, I would like to see if you can get this in there. It might be, we haven't looked it up yet. We are successpreneurs. So it's a new little phrase. But I want to start talking to you about something that's key that I think in anything you're doing, whether it's business, whether it's social media, is trying to narrow down productivity. How do we learn some steps, some habits, so we're not like starting project A, getting distracted by that shiny object over there for project B? What are your takes on that? And how do you feel you can help some listeners and people with that?
I absolutely love this topic. For one, productivity is thrown around. It's thrown around. Like it's just like, oh, I'm so productive. But are you really? Are you measuring? How are you keeping track of that? And a lot of people, like in our culture, we're still so addicted to the hustle grind culture. We're also so addicted to just being busy. A lot of times you'll ask people how they're doing right now. Tell you, oh, I'm busy. That's not really an answer. That's like, okay, well, are you feeling good? Like, are you enjoying your life? You busy doing what? Is it getting you anywhere? So you also can't measure anything. Well, you can't track anything you don't measure, and that's one thing that I think that a lot of people miss when it comes to their productivity. So I had led a workshop in this. I'm a part of the Deluxe Network program, and that's a great network opportunity for online entrepreneurs. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are in different places as well, but this workshop that I led is actually just on this. So I'm going to go over the 5 tips that I had for this. So the first one is to actually use your technology to your benefit and not as a distraction. A lot of times when we're trying to be like doing all the things, we have all the tabs up on our computer. Like that's not, if you get distracted easily, that's not for you. If you can't stay laser focused on the task that you have, that's not for you. You got to know yourself. So using automation, so you don't have to do all the things. When it comes to sending out the email reminders, if you have meetings with potential clients or podcast guests or any other thing that you're meeting someone with, having that extra step of automation, it makes you look so much more professional for one, and two, it helps keep the other person showing up on time because our time is so valuable. The second thing is putting timers on your social media. Now, these are just, there's so many tips on this, but I'm going to just stick to a few of the basics. Putting timers on your social media. You can do this on any phone, you can do this inside the actual apps of Facebook, will show you your time on Facebook, Instagram, all of those things will show you your time on these platforms. And when you think about your time, you got to think about how you're investing your time. And if you're going to invest all this time into social media and it's not going to pay you, then what are you doing? Is that really productive? A lot of people get caught in a trap of like, oh, well, I'm on social because I have business on here, so I need to be on here. But you know you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's what I'm talking about. So go ahead and put those timers on there. Using a digital calendar. I hear you. Like if you're one of those, like, I need to write it down. I used to be you. I used to be you. That's okay. That's cool. It don't work. I'm sorry. You need to be able to access what you have going on. You also, if you've got other people using your time, you need to be clear on what time that you have available. So, using a digital calendar that you can sync with multiple calendars, if you have multiple calendars and schedules, will help you see the time that you truly have. It'll allow you to have that flexibility. So, that's just the first step. Um, the second one I have is to be proactive rather than reactive. I'm really big in planning your quarters, months, weeks, and days in advance, even your years. All planning all of those things in advance to truly help you see how your time's going. So, like, let's say the year, all right? You don't need to go so like deep down in this, but if you know, just like Black Friday, you've got a Black Friday sale that you want to participate in this year, you need to go ahead and put that on your calendar and be like, you know what, I'm going to need to start marketing for that at a certain an earlier date. I'm going to need to figure out what that's going to be. And this is granted, I'm talking about this from a service based or not or from an entrepreneurial sense of it, but just a family sense of it. You want to have a family vacation, you you need to put that in the calendar. You need to have an idea for funds and everything. So Bigger scale things that don't just pop up, but they're kind of coming and you know they're coming, go ahead and start putting that in the calendar being so you're aware of it. Quarterly, assess where you're at and see what you want to do going forward. It's a game changer. Um, by the month, I plan my whole life out a month ahead in the last couple of weeks of the month prior. And I have my clients do this as well. And I'm telling you, when you're more aware of the time that you have, you got your friends' birthdays coming up, you got a little event to go to this thing, you've got a promotional event for your business, you've got, the kids' soccer game or whatever season you're in right now, football season's coming up, you might want to go to the game, whatever it is, having that set so you know where your time's going, that really helps you be so much more proactive than reactive. So when life does pop up, when the kid does get sick, when so and so, we're able to more so manage the things that are on our schedule. We also got to know our non-negotiables. And knowing your non-negotiables, setting those boundaries and sticking to them, which is point three, really all comes from what your why is. Why are you doing what you're doing? What brings you the most joy? And how do you implement those things in your life? And then four, I was talking about this before, but it's review, review, and review again. Like I said, you cannot measure anything you don't track. And if you really want to be progressive, if you really want to be successful, then you got to start reviewing what you do. Everybody wants these quantum leaps in business. You can't do that if you're not looking at the mistakes that you've made and asking yourself how I can do this better. So that's a really big thing for me. And then five is to leave room for flexibility because life is crazy. Like random things happen. I get that. So don't be overloading your calendar with all the things. It's nice to just have three top things that you're going to focus on for the day, and let that be it. You gotta have strict
Mm.
time boundaries as well. So there's so much more into this, but those are just some of my tips.
I, I'm trying to gather myself because I am literally over here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm writing notes. I am because you started saying things, and for a second, I felt like one of those moments when you're in church and the preacher's talking, and you're like, "Yep, he's talking to me. She's talking to me." Right? I'm that person. My wife will tell you. Matter of fact, she just put up a comment and she said, boundaries are very important. She knows, right? Because you started speaking about that. I have like 40 tabs open, but I know for me, and I use it as an excuse, she'll tell you I'm an organized chaos person. I can tell you exactly where something's at if you were to ask me. It's in the room. It's in that pile under this thing. It's under the sock. No, the sock with the blue stripes. But that's how my mind works. But I do need to get focused. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're listening to this, these are important things, especially if you're working to start a side hustle, working to start a little business, something else. I can tell you, I'm nowhere near where I need to be, but I'm working towards getting there. And something else important else that you said, and I think for me, this was the absolute key. You said it as the dirty mirror. Looking yourself in the mirror and saying, what am I doing? That's probably one of the toughest things, right? To look yourself and say, I'm wrong. I I messed up. I didn't know. And then you start gaining focus, right? So what are your thoughts about being focused, laser focused on your goal? What do you think people need to do? How can you help them with that, being focused?
So when my coaching comes in for this, it's like I make customized plans for my clients, and then we come up with a schedule. We see what their schedule does, and then that's when the self sabotage comes in. That's when everything that um, is literally always in the way starts popping up. That's when the friends start to feel like you act indifferent, and you don't know how to deal with that. And so that's really where the coaching comes into play. So I work on this on a very personalized approach. So I would love for this to be super interactive and for you to tell me something that has come up for you, and I can just help you with that. Or give me an example. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that came for you, but that you would go through on your journey while you've been doing all of these things.
Yeah. So For me, I'll tell you that from my point of view, something that gets me unfocused, I guess, is when it comes to time management.
Mhm.
I have so many pots in the kitchen. I think I'm trying to think of the saying, but I have so many things that's going on. And I had to adjust to the calendar, like you said, being digital and setting reminders on my phone to remind me. But I'm the person who, if I have 6 events in one day, instead of trying to make 2 of them on this day and then spreading them out, I'm trying to get them all 6 done just to accommodate um, the client or someone's schedule. So I guess that's it for me that helps me lose focus.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is a sense of people pleasing, and because you're so much more accommodating to somebody else, and it's a boundaries thing too, because
Okay.
it's almost as if, and I really believe that this also relates to a self-worth. You know,
Right.
if you even if you're having a bad day and you don't necessarily want to be as flexible with your own schedule, but it's to accommodate to somebody else. Why? Why, if you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it if it doesn't really
Break it
serve
down.
you? It's right if it's not, and I understand sometimes you got to be back to back to back to back. I get it. I know that. But if it really isn't working for you, if it's something that you know what you're feeling after about 4, I'm done. You know,
Okay.
after about, maybe I'll do 3 one day, 3 another day. Or even just communicating with the person, I'm sorry. Not even saying I'm sorry. What if, because okay, say I'm sorry if they're they've already scheduled and that was the time that worked for them.
Gotcha.
I apologize for the inconvenience. Are you able to do this date and time instead? Or pick another date, at this specific time? You don't even have to give a reason. You don't. We overcomplicate so much when we do all of that. We and it's not to say that I'm all about phenomenal
Mm.
customer service. And I think that a part of phenomenal customer service and phenomenal, experience, guest experience, if you're doing a podcast, because I've done my podcast for almost 2 years. So I'm here with you. I'm respecting people's time, but it's also, I don't overschedule. What I
Right.
do is I give people a window to batch record my podcast with. This
Okay.
is the time that I'm going to allot. This is, and it's like a 3 week window. But
Sure.
then I do this for the season. So because this works better for me. My seasons are 3 months. So then I'm able to just mass record and then pump it out, get it going. And I'm not spending all of my time doing the recording of the podcast.
Right.
Um, so like it also matters on finding what works for you. So that's also what comes into the review. What is working for you when it comes to your time management, and staying focused on the project you have at hand, breaking down, compartmentalizing, and then seeing where there might be some character things that you have to work on. Maybe it's upping that self-worth as well. And I'm not saying this just to go at you line. I'm just saying because
Oh no.
self-worth is a big thing that we have. Like, I've had to work on this so much. Just a little background.
Yeah.
I grew up on food stamps. I was home. I've been homeless twice. Once when I was 12, because my parents got evicted from their home and we were living on a couch in someone's trailer that was like in it was not the best. I'm grateful we had somewhere to stay. I wasn't in a shelter. I'm grateful for that. But I know what it's like to go hungry. All right.
Hmm.
I lost everything in Hurricane Michael in 2018. So we were technically homeless then. Granted, the military took phenomenal care of us, and I was able to do a fundraiser for people during that time. So I'm not saying that I was in some horrible situation, but I did lose 80% of my belongings, my home, had to get relocated, lived in Airbnbs and hotels for 5 months while we were closing on the house that we live in now. So I've had to overcome so many money mindset issues when it comes to work. But I tell you what, I was in the grocery store the other day. I was in the grocery store on Sunday, and I'm telling you, this inflation is crazy. And I said, I came home and I told my husband, I said, we got 1 decade to continue being middle class, and then we switching teams because
Mm,
we ain't. These prices are making it to the point where you can't just be middle class. Like, you know what I
mm.
mean? It's not even my mindset, though. It had to shift. It had to go from being why me to why not me. What makes it I can't? So,
Whew.
believing you can is so much part of the process, too. So, yeah, I know that that was a lot, and this is why I'm also taking
No,
notes.
no,
I want
we need to hear it sometimes. Man, I just got chills literally. And as soon as you say that switching teams thing, I said, you know what? I'm going to go get like a jersey or baseball jersey, something, and get it for my wife and I. And we're going to get Team Millionaire or something like that. 10 years switching. Because I used to be a person. Oh, let me show you this first and then I'll touch onto that. So, what you said about the people pleasing and kind of thing, I agree wholeheartedly. And so here's a little funny thing that I started doing, and I would carry it around with me. And let me see, for the listeners, you won't be able to see this, but I'll kind of describe it for you. It's a no button. And when people would start to ask me stuff, I would just no. I would just simply press the button, right? Because something that I speak about often, and my listeners will hear me say now, is you don't have to give, and it took me a long time to learn this, and I'm still, going through it. You don't have to give an explanation or reason for no. We feel like we have to justify it, right? Can you run me to the gas station or grocery store? No. Why not? I don't need to give you a reason. You asking me why not? I'm asking you why don't you have transportation or a way to get there yourself, right? So I have to learn that and still learning it, and I really appreciate that because when you scope that out, it's something I think can help out everyone who'd be listening who might be feeling similar. Like, man, she's talking right to me, right? And I love it. And when you go into all of this, into your coaching, into your business, where can people kind of find you at? Do you have some social medias? Do you have those things where they can get in touch with Coach Liv?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm on Instagram at coach_live. It is LIV. I'm on TikTok at coach.live, also spelled the same way, LIV. I'm on YouTube at Life Hacks with Liv. And I've got my podcast, The Empowered Woman Badass Unfiltered. I have my Christ driven brand, Relentless Glory. I've got so much out there. And so you just choose the platform that you like, that you're most on. I'm also on Facebook. So you use the platform that you're most on. And if you want any bit of what I have so much free content that I'm constantly putting out for you just to see if what I say resonates with you. Um, and if you're interested, I have my link tree below. I have a 20-minute strategy session that's completely complimentary that is linked in my link tree. If that's something, if you know, like, you know what, I could work on my productivity, I could work on my mindset. I don't want to be struggling anymore. I don't want to continue to hold myself back. That's where I really help you figure out what you got going on and help you get forward faster.
Yes, my beautiful queen just jumped in and said, "You have great advice." I'm telling you, we're gonna go and get your podcast on right now. We're gonna go subscribe to it, download some episodes, because what we found for ourselves is to help. We will go to bed and we'll listen to podcasts at night on Alexa. I can't say her name because everything in the house will go crazy if I say her name. um, but we'll listen to that at night. So it even goes into our subconscious mind sometimes. And it has helped us grow because you have to surround yourself with like-minded individuals and people. It's just a thing. Is there anything we miss? Anything you want to get out to the audience, to the listeners who are listening to you? I'm telling you right now, if you are driving, if you are listening to this on a walk, stop, pull over safely, go to her social media so you don't forget, like it, subscribe, get on there so you can get this information. But what do you think that we forgot? Anything you want to get in the last parting words?
I don't think we forgot anything. I really just want to reiterate. I want you to really start asking your question, the question, why not me? Start doing it for a week. See what happens in your life. Why not you?
That's so powerful. Why not me? That's the question for today. Why not me? All right. So hold on for 1 second. I'm going to go do some housekeeping and we're going to come back with you. So just 1 second, please. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming back to another episode of Just One Question. That was our question today, right? Why not me? Ask yourself that. Why can't I be successful? Why can't I grow within my business, within my life, within whatever endeavors that you're doing, right? And I want you to keep on pushing no matter what. And remember this, no matter what you're doing, I want you to live while you're alive.